Yes, welcome to another edition of whatever. Draft physics. Comments, unfortunately. Um, yeah, well, I'll read them, but yeah, they're really not, no, just people just aren't even really, on the subject. The subject is how much of conventional physics has really earned its status as some sort of true story. The story of physics by the conventionally held notions. How many of those notions are solid, like water is wet, and how many of them are three bears and little Goldilocks and old Red Riding Hood? And that's sort of the subject. And the fact that none of you people will ever concede the simple truth that the evidence for all of these conclusions is really weak evidence. Not really strong evidence, but really weak evidence. Simple to understand that these are all open subjects. They're not closed books. That time is a dimension that you can bend or warp. That light is bent by gravity. That gravity is some sort of contraction in space. That photons have lots of features and can navigate circumstances based on recognizing probabilities. All of that crap is not well evidenced crap. That's the subject. One subject. The second subject is, I have a theory that also is not heavily evidenced, but it's so much more sensible. So many fewer UFOs and talking bears. Anyway, Derek R. Alright, so this was on a video I did a while back where some Jimmy guy did a little propaganda video on Tesla and a slander video against Edison, pretty much. And I just pointed out the truth, against all the falsehoods spoken in the video. So it says here, so easy to debate someone that can't defend themselves while you attack them. So this guy he likes, apparently, attacks dead people, alright, to support some guy he likes. Now those dead people can't defend themselves. And so somebody shows up to defend the dead, and you accuse them of attacking a dead person. I didn't attack a dead person. I attacked Jimmy's silly story and said he didn't have evidence for any of the story he told because I've looked for all the Tesla writings and they don't exist. He wrote one book, this is my little story of, coming to America. And he threw some physics in it. But other than that, that's all you get. So anyway, so you're pitiful. Okay, what a joke you are. So Jimmy can't make a video defending himself. Just as like somehow I can't make a video defending myself against your slanderous shit comment. Of course I can. So who did I attack who can't defend themselves, retard? Do you go to bed feeling like you won? Again, I'm saying if you sit there and basically say I'll pay physicists to argue with me, I'll pay them to do it. All right. I'm not going to pay non-physicists, obviously, so I'm not going to pay Jimmy to argue about how Jimmy doesn't know shit about physics and is just talking out of his ass. And that's the truth. Jimmy's an idiot. Now, if Jimmy wants to debate something, I have an open door here. Okay, so if you can give Jimmy some courage pills and he'll show up in a live room, I'll debate him on any subject in the universe. Because I'm sure he's an idiot on all of them. Fuck you! I mean, just so fucking bullshit. I can't say it any clearer, okay? I'll take on any comer. Come on. Come. Show up. And I'll take on anybody. I'm not afraid of any of you pussies. Oh, shit. Alright, so this idiot. Rick Nader. SpaceX has another successful launch of PAZ satellite, whatever that is, and such, last night. I guess this whole thing that we somehow needed some moron capitalist who stole a bunch of money from, government contracts and whatnot and bullshit. Well, anyway, to show up to show us how to launch satellites is retarded. You know how easy it's getting now? I mean, it's like the drone thing. It's like anybody can launch a satellite now. It's like I paid $7 for a smartwatch, and it actually works. I mean, not always does it tell time, but it's got a little pedometer in it, and it can talk to a cell phone, and I can even take pictures with it. It actually has a camera in it. All right, they're shitty pictures, but it can do it, and it can record conversations. All right, yes, it's shitty, but it can do it. $7. I mean, and it has a touch screen, and I can scroll, and it works. You can touch little tiny things on the screen, and it actually works. $7. I'm just saying, this has gotten so much easier and cheaper. And all of a sudden, you're all impressed because somebody shows up after they spent decades doing the hard work of creating the technology, and they show up when it's easy, when it's all on a chip, and pretend like they invented it. And you fall for it. I mean, fuck. Amazing. Alright, anyway. I mean, it's just so stupid. But of course, it's probably another Tesla nut. Musk steals Tesla's name, plasters it on a DC electric car. Let's understand, there's no Tesla technology in the car. No Tesla technology required to make the car work. But we'll name it after him, because it's all the same thing, right? If Tesla invented chewing gum, it means he invented chocolate bar, everything. He invented everything. I mean, you people are just so pathetic. Anyway, so the V-21. Another guy looking for some kind of truther theory to cling to. But anyway, how would one go about measuring the flipping force? Okay, so I pointed out on the magnets that it's a curious thing. Well, obviously in the video I said I thought about it for 1 hour, and I just was posing that I've never really seen any analysis of magnetic, one of these functions of magnets, which is the way they flip, and whether or not it is force conservative. I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever really analyzed it to see if the only forces involved are magnetism. Do all the Maxwell equations. Now, it's certainly it's a high work, little reward kind of analysis to do. It would obviously take, you do some high-speed cameras, you have to do some sophisticated analysis. Now, lots of math, and in the end, you might not gain anything out of it. I don't know. It's sort of an open question. I think it would, potentially has some sort of, wow, we never realized there's something else involved. But anyway, yeah, I don't know exactly how I would do it. I mean, again, I spent an hour thinking about it, and then since then I have spent another 20 minutes thinking about it. It's probably going to take somebody spending a little more time than that, but I'm really not going to devote my life to it. I was just pointing out how it's another one of those things that just, everybody thinks everything's been done. Well, I don't think everything's been done. Alright, could that be responsible for the object falling slower? So again, he's saying it as if it's true. Okay, responsible for the object falling slower than the one of the same mass. So again, he thinks it's actually an experiment that has actually been done and there's actual evidence. There's no such thing. So I don't understand why would you make a claim, assert something for which there's no evidence? Just claims, no evidence. Oh yeah, I did it. I threw 2 magnets off a building. Oh no, I didn't record it or anything. No, but I did it. Yeah. I mean, that's sort of the story. You post a link, right, to a nutter who's, with some guy who worked for, I don't know, Lockheed Martin, a scientist, quote unquote. And he's doing all the trick science, the copper with the magnet and all the little the gimmicky stuff. And he just reports how he spent $5,000 on magnets, dropped them down an elevator shaft or something, and had 9 people tell him which magnet landed first, right? But they were disguised in rock camouflage. Did you really think that experiment took place? He made rock camouflage things, put $5,000 worth of magnets inside of them, and then dropped them down an elevator shaft and allowed people to decide which one hit first? Why don't they bring that back to the Olympics? We can have little people look at the finish line and decide who won the race. Fuck having cameras and fuck, fuck doing anything rational, right? Let's just do it irrationally. Anyway, it would be interesting. Now, none of this is interesting. This is stupid. It would be interesting to see experiments that actually test if the static force has any impact when dropping objects. I don't even know how a static force, this static force, has, there's no such thing as a static force. Okay? There's objects that can be static, and they have force emanating out of them, just like there can be a radioactive isotope. Now, we know in the case of a radioactive isotope that the energy will run out, that it's decaying over time, that the radium will stop emanating light when the radium turns to radon, or whatever the hell it turns into, or vice versa. And so the difference is that with certain objects, like in the gravity scenario or in the magnet scenario, you have objects that are static in space. That is, there's no evidence of anything happening, and there's certainly no evidence that they are slowly consuming something inside themselves to produce a force, an energetic force. And I've obviously presented the simple solution to the problem, which is the force comes from the outside and it's just being filtered by the magnet. So the magnet's just a filter for an existing force. But you people are too stupid to follow along, apparently. Alright. But clearly, I don't understand how you think a conservative force. It has to always be conservative, doesn't it? You either burn something or their force is converting something, but you really don't think magnets have a creation engine inside of them, do you? Alright. There seems to me some sort of cycling. So perpetual motion cycling. So there seems to you to be something, like I said, I mean, I could buy it if you could make an argument that somehow you could have photons cycle that far out or something, but the only thing we kind of know that can be trapped in matter are photons. And they could be trapped because they get caught in some circular path. They travel between electrons, and they travel in a square, would be the same as a circle or a path. It's not a gravity scenario. They're not being captured by another force. They're just being captured by their redirection. So they're like a car on a road. Okay, the road isn't providing, isn't holding them. They're just following the road, the path, and the path can end up being circular. You're too stupid to get it. There seems to be some sort of cycling. So again, this is just a popular with all the electric people. This idea of just perpetual cycling. Unless you explain it with an existing force. How you've somehow captured the existing force. But there's just no scenario you're going to come up with. And again, why can't we would be able to see the drift of it. You could put two magnets on top of each other and they wouldn't hover because the force would cycle them off. There's no moving force outside of the magnet. It's radiating force like a light bulb. It's not cycling. It's losing the same force that came into it. It's coming out of it, and the only difference is it's filtered. It's been polarized. Alright, with respect to magnetism, liquid mercury cycles on top of a magnet with electricity applied. Oh, so this guy's link is to the mercury thing. Sorry, the other nutter has the link to the crazy UFO guy. Alright, so this mercury stuff, I don't think I've been bothered showing it. It's pretty simple. Okay, they take different ways of creating the same thing as the copper thing. So you're creating the eddy current theoretical circumstance. So this is all DC voltages and very high amperage. So a lot of current. So you shove a ton of current, and the idea is that they had two rings. Okay, so you have a magnet in the center, speaker magnet. So it's creating lines of force that are going out circularly, like a drink strainer, if you know what one of those looks like. Hyperboloid around the edges. And then you have two rings of aluminum, and then mercury is in the puddle between the two rings. But clearly the mercury is highly conductive. Well, very conductive. conductive enough. And so the electricity is going to shoot right through the mercury. And the key is the mercury is already, its domains have no doubt lined up with the magnetic field of the speaker magnet. And again, it's always an electron force. So it's, the electricity is basically moving electrons. It's not moving protons. Not on purpose anyway. They move by default, let's say. So the current is going to be going through the electron path and creating now a perpendicular magnetic field, which obviously is going to be in conflict with the other magnetic field, and always be in conflict in the same way because it's traveling on the electron side. So if you switch the current, you switch what side the electrons are on, and therefore you induce movement in the wire, so to speak. So it's just like wires moving when you put electricity in them, except in a liquid, the liquid moves. So you're just moving the liquid because it's the conductor. And so it's like the motor that I showed with the magnet, where you're able to create the spin inside the conducting fluid. It's really interesting experiments, don't get me wrong, and they're fascinating to watch, but there's no mystery about it. It's just a Maxwellian bullshit. It's not some kind of magical phenomenon, and it mostly has to do with the fact that the current in an object that's not a wire can travel in lots of different paths to get from one place to another, and it matters what path it takes. Alright, so this is Junior P. So where do you stand on science? So the channel is called DraftScience, and it basically says in all the videos now, science, physics, the do-over. My stand is that they've made wrong assumptions, that they have a horrible foundation of mumbo jumbo, not the truth. They got the wrong answers at the bottom, and they have a few mathematical equations which are just formalizations of observations. So they're good at formalizing results of experiments, but they're very bad at identifying causes of experiments. So I guess that's where I stand. And all its theories and ideas. So you want me to respond on every single theory and idea that has ever been proposed in what might be called the realm of science? I mean, you can't see how that's just a crappy thing to throw at somebody like anybody on Earth. What do you think of every opinion on Earth? Could you give me your opinion of every opinion you ever heard? I mean, it's just such a stupid thing to say, and it's just the whole psychology of this kind of rhetoric. Like all of a sudden, I'll sound like I'm weaseling out of the question somehow by saying it's too open-ended a question. What, you want me to agree with everything, or I have to say everything sucks? Those are my only two choices? No, I think every theory they have is brilliant. I can't qualify my response without sounding like, oh, you don't believe in science? I mean, it's just scum. Anyway, do you support all science? Okay, amazing. No. yeah, I guess that's a simple answer, right? No, and no rational person should. No rational person should think every single one of their loopy theories happens to be correct. And nobody could anyway, because they don't even agree with each other, jackass. I mean, Copenhagen is not compatible with many worlds, and many worlds isn't compatible with string theory. You understand? You can't play this kind of a silly game. Alright, and peer review science? And do you understand what peer review is? It's some, like, undergrad student or somebody who failed at doing real science, right? Because they're working at some dopey magazine. Alright? They couldn't do anything for real, so they have to work at a magazine. They don't know shit, right? And they probably don't even have a degree in the subject. They're the ones proofreading everything. And if something catches their eye, like, oh, that sort of sounds like fun, then they hand it to a physicist and say, please read this, because I don't know what the fuck it's saying. Maybe it has merit. I don't know. But see, the filtering process sucks. And there's absolutely no accountability. So peer review that doesn't have any accountability, you can't see how there's a huge flaw, like the editors get to be anonymous and everybody gets to be anonymous, so they don't have to take any responsibility for the stuff they threw in the garbage and the stuff they didn't answer at all. And you can't see that the publication is intended for an audience that just wants to hear about how we're great and we're wonderful and we're not fuck-ups. So yeah, I don't have much respect for peer review. I think somebody could write a simple paper just pointing out how little evidence there is defending Einstein's theories. That is hard evidence. But there just isn't any. And they wouldn't publish it. And all he would be doing is pointing out how, well, let's compare it to evolution. How much evidence do we have for evolution versus how much evidence do we have for bent space? Time. For even the existence of something called space-time. Yeah, we don't have it. So, whatever. Stupid comment. So, anyway. J. Ash. So maybe this is the one with the loopy videos. Gary, the whole idea of bolting magnets together comes from the UFO community. This video. Okay, so I went to that video if you want to go see it. It's some Boyd something or other guy from Lockheed, old guys. It had to be 10, 15 years ago or whatever, being interviewed and just talking all kinds of shit about Area 51 and how he knows the guy who shot down the flying saucer, and he went to the alien ship and it was transparent, and you know, all this kind of loopy stories. So in the beginning of the video he sort of sounds a little bit credible, but he just gets wackier and wackier as it goes on. And so yeah, so there's just a story in there. That's all there is. He did it, but he didn't record the experiment, and he obviously didn't use any instrumentality that you could rely on. He just said 9 people said this one fell faster than that one. That's all. Yeah, unrecorded experiment that even if it was recorded was a piece of shit, and he claims to have spent $10,000 on it. I don't believe him myself. Yeah, I don't think that happened. Anyway. Alright, if you skip right about to the 5-minute mark, a man named Boyd Bushman, there you go, claims he did this experiment first. Well, whether he did it first or not, he doesn't make that claim. He just claims he did it and that he got some sort of result. But obviously the claim was completely without a shred of evidence. Okay. I guess he doesn't explicitly claim... Oh, he fixed it. I guess he doesn't explicitly claim he was the first, but I think that's the implication of the video. Well, whatever. But, you know, it's good you caught that. I mean, I watched the video, so yeah, I knew he didn't claim I was the first to do it. But he did claim, again, that he used very powerful magnets, $5,000 magnet. No. I think he said 5,000. Anyway, I might have said 10, but it was, I think it was 5. It should be noted that he also revealed a photo of an actual alien. You know, I didn't really see the alien, but later reported found you could buy this alien at Walmart. Okay, so I don't know if we need to go to this video. Well, I guess I just did accidentally. So I guess we're going there, Gary. Okay, so there's this alien. It's got an interesting little haircut. Deathbed confession about aliens. Did former Lockheed Martin engineer Berger provide evidence of alien life on his deathbed? False. The video posted to YouTube on October 8, 2000 offered the deathbed revelations of a former Lockheed Martin engineer who spoke with aerospace engineer Mark Q. Patterson shortly before he passed away at age 78 in August 2014. Well, the video looked a lot older than that. Engineer said he spoke with aliens and has pictures to prove it. Let's see. Went out with an extra disclosure bang, making claims about having worked on projects involving anti-gravity, UFOs, aliens, Area 51, Roswell, New Mexico. According to his comments in the video, government officials have been in contact with aliens that strongly resemble humans. Well, anyway, no point. I mean, this is the video, I guess, and you know, I didn't. So he shortly died, which is feel bad for him, but yeah, he shouldn't be telling silly stories. Anyway, can't feel that bad for him. I mean, I don't really like liars. And it seems like a pile of lie. Alright, well that didn't go back, so I must be over here still. Alright, so anyway. So yeah, this is unfortunate that there's this whole community of people that are just, they really don't want physics to be physics. They really want to have some sort of interesting story. They want the whole Star Wars scenario where we go to the bar with all the funny aliens and have little alien adventures and all that crap. And you know, it's okay, you can want that stuff, but I mean, it's just silly to force physics to tell you, yes, you're gonna see. That's another thing the Boyd guy was saying, is that we're gonna go, you know, with our brain speed, the speed of brain, right? He said something silly like that, the speed of consciousness or something. And consciousness is so fucking slow. I mean, anybody who's looked at their own consciousness, they'd be saying, holy shit, it takes me forever to think straight. I mean, you know, so much that the conscious, the part getting it out part is slow. Subconscious is moving pretty fast, but the conscious is so fucking slow. Anyway. Alright. Battlestar Commander. See, I mean, this is, why are you watching my videos? I mean, you're not going to get any of this. Battlestar Commander. I have a question, if you don't mind me asking. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I mind even acknowledging your screen name. Is there magnetism between two objects with extreme heat in between the two objects? What would ordinarily be attracting to each other? Well, the problem is you can't maintain the whole point of the filter. Is the filter requires there to be an arrangement of the atoms, and this, you know, especially, you know, in metals, it's, you know, the conductors, it's in these domains, and heat fractures the domains. It fractures those connections. They're very weak connections that keep everything in order. You can mess them up with, you know, by hitting something or by heating something. Hello?
Hello, my name is Elizabeth, and I'm with the Resort Reward Center, and I'm calling because you stayed with us
No,
or at our partner resorts in the
I
past.
didn't do any of that,
Earned
you
enough
recorded
points to
bitch.
issue an
They
amazingly
ought to go
fantastic
find her. They ought to go find her and give her one hell of a whipping. God damn. Oh, evil people on this earth. Evil and stupid. That's all there are. Evil and stupid. Why am I making videos? I should just be building myself a safe room. Oh, God, you people are so fucked up. Alright, anyway. Extreme between them, blah, 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 each other. Look, the whole heat. The heat doesn't, magnetism isn't going to be, until you plasma, you know, until you're so hot that you're back to, you've decluttered everything and you're just basically back to protons and electrons in a new form. Yes, the intermediate stage, you're not going to be able to have magnetism. Maybe when you get to the extreme stage, you'll recreate it because you'll again be having structure. So you can't have complexity. So the complexity has to be destroyed. That is the elemental complexity, before heat can work. Alright, another way of phrasing it. Oh, damn. Does magnetism work through an extreme heat barrier? Well, the barrier of heat, alright, is material. And obviously, ferrous things absorb the magnetism in a sense. They magnetize. But if you stick a whole bunch of stuff on a magnet, you change the magnetic profile. So the simple answer is you end up creating magnets that interfere with the main magnet. So, you know, where you had a pure charge, you're now getting a dirtier and dirtier. So as you put lesser and lesser strength magnets in the way, so to speak, those end up fighting your magnetism. The polarization isn't quite right. It's crooked. It's off center. And so you start diluting the strength of this by creating opposite magnetism in the path between it. So in a sense, the heat barrier, if it has any elements in it, will break it. Now, if the heat is just in the form of photons, it won't matter. If it's just infrared radiation, it doesn't matter. But if it's actual molecular heat with actual atoms moving, that could create opposite magnetisms that would diminish the strength of the original magnet because you've put opposite magnets in the field. I think maybe that gravity force and magnetic force would typically be stationary. So again, the objects are stationary. The force is moving. The force moves the material objects. I don't, what's the point? Like I said, I make hundreds of videos pointing out that the force is the stuff moving the speed of light. The elemental bits, the protons, electrons, neutrons, don't have any native movement. They have to be pushed somewhere by the force. They have to absorb something with movement to have movement. Shit. Stationary. If it weren't for the great time device over most, or what? If it weren't for the great time device over most, or all of the main creation. Or all of the main creation. What the fuck am I saying there? Moving everything forward in time, then back in time. See again, it's just whatever. You think there's a forward and back. Okay, I'm telling you, no, that's never going back. It's never going to happen. Time is just because there's things that move slower than instantaneous. Because light doesn't move instantaneously from one place to another, we measure the time as being how long it takes it to do it. That's not instantaneous, but that's all it is. There is no other time thing. Time is just because things don't move instantly. It's not an instant universe. Therefore there's time, but you can't reverse it. Anyway, then repeating the same thing, whatever. Oh no, not perturbating the stretching and whatever is typically there and stationary to stretch its force in a different way into what we consider gravity and magnetism. So again, there's just no point. I already have the answer, shithead. I don't need retarded answers. I don't need this fairy pixie crap as an explanation. I already understand why there's gravity and why there's magnetism. I have a whole explanation that I have articulated in numerous videos on this channel. I don't need this mumbo jumbo. I think maybe it creates the positive and negative things in science also. Question mark? Yeah, I think it all sounds like a pile of shit, shithead. Alright, so I have responded to these comments, so I am deleting them because they're just, frankly, they're just noise. There's no signal in there. Are you Gary Mosier? It's just, couldn't be more irrelevant, could it? What does it matter what my name is, you fuckhead? I mean, how does it change any of these videos at all who I am? How could it possibly matter? I mean, if I was a shape-shifting alien even, how would it matter? The videos are arguments. You either say good argument or bad argument, but it just doesn't matter who's making them. Oh, shit. Alright, amazing. Alright, so now the hex meat guy. Let's see. Oh yeah, this was on the lensing stuff. Well, might as well. I don't feel like making a whole lensing video. That brought me to a more prominent point. How come the Hubble telescope can take an image without blurs when the galaxies are at vastly different distances? Well, it's the same reason that you can have a fixed focus camera that does the from 10 feet to infinity thing. Okay, and everything's in focus. Same reason. when we look at anything, our eyes always have to readjust to distance. Well, they don't really, but okay. It turns out that the Hubble telescope needs to focus only once without readjustment. Well, I don't think that's technically true. I think its focus is done in post-processing. That is, they just collect the photons, and in post-processing, they figure out which ones are not from the right image. There are other factors, though, because the objects are so far away that any given set of rays that need to be focused are very near to being parallel. Well, this near to being parallel argument still doesn't change the fact that a lens is a lens. And the point is how much the light is getting bent. It has to be bent just the right amount. So if you have a lens that bends the light too much, the photons can't reach you. So all this parallel talk really doesn't mean much, because it's really not parallel. And we're talking about a distance of like 100,000 light years. That's how big these images are in terms of how big they are in the lens. So you're talking about 100,000 light years of very of almost the same gravity. No chance. Anyway, let's see. Rays need to be focused very near to being parallel, so each set of incident rays from a given point are approximated to be parallel when they get to the telescope. Well, again, they're not parallel. And let's see, how else can I say it? The rules of the lens still abide. There's a huge difference in gravity between being one diameter from the sun and being 2 diameters from the sun. So you just can't pretend that the light isn't being bent at a substantially different angle. The force is 4 times greater. You can't play the game that much difference can get to the same focus, because it can't. Alright, anyway. When it comes to the eye, I'd imagine blurriness depends on how the eye redirects focus as a given set of rays to a point on the back, but for the telescope, a given set of rays are going to be almost parallel. So the task of focusing them to a point would be simplified, and no readjustments needed. Again, the focus isn't the issue. The issue is that you can't resolve something when you put it through a mechanism that bends it in many different directions. It wouldn't have the same form anymore. I mean, you can't get around this effect. The fact that this is not focused, okay, I could put this at angles where you just see light blobs. You can't fix that here. The problem was here, okay, and you can't fix it. No matter what you do, you're not going to fix it. Alright, I mean, once it's unfocused, it can't be made to focus. That's not the way to say it. Anyway, we'll just go on. Wouldn't that mean that the gravitational lens would cause blurring issues? Wouldn't cause blurring issues. Like I said, it can't mean that, in my opinion. It has to be important. The shape of the lens is always important. And you can't say, oh yeah, it's okay, I have a completely bizarrely convex shaped lens, and it'll still work as a telescope. Because it won't. Alright. Because the rays that hit the telescope are going to be almost parallel anyway. Again, it's almost parallel it just doesn't mean anything. It can't mean anything. Let's see how to say that. And you can just understand that almost parallel from the point of view again. If you had almost parallel rays, that would mean you need a very little curvature in your lens. And clearly a gravity lens is exactly the opposite of a very little curvature lens. It's a highly curved lens. So it's still working against you. Your primary lens can't create the image. Alright, that's enough of a response, I think. So let's see, I don't know if this is another one of, yeah, so we're back on Ken Wheeler. Here's the video of Ken smashing together magnets. Okay, so we already did that. Alright. So I think that's it. Alright. So, just onward and upward and such, but again, anybody who actually has a physics degree and would like to have some conversations about what the actual evidence is of all this physics hype, the talking head physics, yeah, I'd like the opportunity to test your confidence. Alright, until the next time and such. Yeah, nothing to say. I did hit this record button, so that's good. Till next time, such.